down to earth to fulfill some purpose of the divine. Therefore, although his name was Jagabdandhu, people called him Jagat Sundara, beautiful Jagat, Bandhu Sundara, beautiful Bandhu, or Bandhu Sona, golden Bandhu. The astrologer found in his horoscope the constellation of 5 planets, which indicated that he would be superhuman, and his religious influence as a messiah of the fallen souls would extend far and wide. Jagat was only 1 year old when his mother died. He was 7 when his father died. So after the death of his mother, he was taken by his uncle Bhairava Chandra Chakravati from Dahapat to his home at Govindapur. His widowed daughter, Digambari Devi, began to look after him with great care and affection. The superhuman character of Jagat came more and more to light as he grew. When he played hide and seek with boys, he could be easily caught on account of the supernatural smell of his body. That's bad. His courage was extraordinary. He would go to the bank of the river Padma, board one of the boats lying at anchor, and release it from the anchor. The boat would go floating along the stream. One of his playmates would go and tell Digambari Devi. She would come running and crying. Then someone would jump into the river, swim up to the boat, and bring it back to the bank. He would go to the forest with his friends. Someone would say, "Jagat, be careful. There is a hole over there. There may be a snake in it." Jagat would place his foot over the hole and stand fearlessly. I would not. He would go to the cremation ground with his friends and lie down on one of the artis, a bed made of bamboos on which a dead body is carried to the cremation ground. His friends would say, "Jagat, what are you doing? The arti is impure." But Jagat would not listen. On going back home, the friends would tell Digambari Devi about it. She would say angrily, "Jagat, you are impure. You must bath before entering the house." He would reply, "Didi, purity and impurity are mental concepts. Whatever I touch becomes pure." Digambari Devi would forcibly pour a pitcher of water over him. After some time, Bhairavachandra built a new house in Brahmana Kanda, where he shifted with his entire family. But only 7 months after that, he died, and the burden of the family fell upon his 2 sons, Gopal Chandra and Tarini Charana. They made adequate arrangement for Jagat's education. At the age of 13, the sacred thread ceremony of Jagat was performed. This marked the beginning of a new change in his life. Jagat, who had so far been restive and sportive, suddenly became serious and grave. Similar to Mahaprabhu, right? Naughty in the beginning, and then after he received initiation, he immediately became serious. This is a good, interesting point. suddenly became serious and grave. In thought, word, and deed, and in the observance of the rules and regulations of the Shastras, he began to look like a young rishi, saintly person. He bathed 3 times during the day, performed Sandhya Puja, religious service performed daily in the morning and evening, cooked his own food, observed brahmacharya, abstinence or celibacy with strictness, always kept his body covered with white cloth, kept his eyes towards the ground while walking, talked very little, sat on the last bench in the school and was often lost in deep thought. Sometimes he went out of home and sat in deep meditation in a lonely place for hours. At night, Dikambari Devi made Jagat sleep by her side. From time to time, she touched him to make sure that he was there. If she did not find him, she cried, Jagat, Jagat. His brothers and servants got up and went out in search of him. Someone shouted, Oh, I feel the smell of Jagat's body coming from the other side of the pond. When they went there, they saw him sitting in deep meditation. No one had the courage at that time to disturb him. Jagat was always seen in a thoughtful and pensive mood. It appeared that a spark was smoldering in his heart, and he was restless to do something great. After Jagat had finished his education in Brahmanakanda, he was sent to Ranchi, where his brother Tarini Charana was an income tax inspector. He admitted him into a school there. Tarini Charana's neighbor and his friend Rai Bahadura Rakhalababu had a valuable horse who had gone mad. He used to throw away anyone who tried to ride him and run. Once Jagat heard Rai Bahadura talking with Tarini Chandra about the horse. He spoke out, I shall tame the horse. Tarini was alarmed. He said, Jagat, you must not dare to do that. The horse is ferocious. He has curbed the pride of many horsemen. You must not go even near him. Jagat laughed and said, Dada, even a lion turns into a mouse when he comes under my control. Tarini laughed it away as a joke. One evening, when Rai Bahadura returned from his office, he was surprised not to see the horse in the stable. When Tarini Charana returned from his office, he was surprised not to see Jagat at home. Someone said he had seen Jagat riding the horse. As soon as they heard this, there was no end to their anxiety. Rai Bahadura said, Tarini Babu, I'm not worried about the horse. He may or may not come back. He may live or die, but I am deeply concerned about your brother. Both were lost in anxiety and looking expectantly towards the road when they had a distant vision of the horse running towards them in great speed and raising dust all around. Tarini Babu's heart sank. He thought the horse was returning after throwing down Jagat and crushing him into pieces. But the very next moment, The horse came running in lightning speed with the rider on his back and stood at the door. Jagat held the bridle of the horse in one hand and the whip in the other. His face was red and wet with perspiration. He got down from the horse and stood before Rai Bahadura with pride and said, "Rai Bahadura, your horse is tamed." This provided an instance of Jagat's wonderful power of attraction and enchantment, which worked on man and animals alike, and which in later years turned atheists into theists and sinners into saints. One day, when Tarini Babu returned from the office, he saw Jagat writhing with acute stomachache. He called the doctor. The doctor diagnosed that the patient was given poison. He treated accordingly and he was cured. There was no one in the house except the cook and the servant. The cook had already fled. When the servant was threatened, he confessed that he and the cook had conspired to give poison to Jagat because they used to steal and found Jagat's presence in the house a hindrance to stealing. Tarini Babu wanted to hand over the servant to the police. But Jagat said, "Dada, the remedy for wickedness is not punishment, but penitence. Excuse him, he will feel penitent." Tarini Babu excused the servant, but he did not think it proper to keep Jagat with him. He sent him to Babana to live with Golokamani, the younger sister of Digambari Devi, whose husband, Prasanna Kumar Lahidi, was a big lawyer. He thought that there he would be better looked after. Lahidi Babu admitted him into a school in Pabana. Jagat's career as a great saint and savior and redeemer of mankind started from Pabana. The spark that had been smoldering in his heart now turned into a flame. He was never much interested in education, although he always passed the examinations satisfactorily. But education now was but nominal, because he had already attained the highest stage of bhakti, which was the end of education. He now used to be always lost in the world of Bhav and Lila. He was fond of Kirtana since birth, but Kirtan had now become the heart and soul of his life. As soon as the sound wave of Kirtana struck his ear, even from a distance, he started dancing and became unconscious. His body trembled, tears streamed out of his eyes, drops of blood covered every pore of his body, and sometimes breathing also stopped. Well, these are the sattvika bhavs appearing on his body. Once he was witnessing a dramatic performance relating to Dhruva. As soon as Dhruva started singing, Kotaya Padma Pala Shalochana Hari Yo, where is the lotus-eyed Hari? He started trembling and became unconscious. At that time, Chandrasekhar Akali, the famous doctor of Calcutta, was there. He said that it was an epileptic fit, but when he examined him closely, he found that his pulse beat had stopped. His touch produced sattvika bhavs in him, and he began to feel like dancing and singing Haribol. Once while Jagabdandhu was bathing in river Ichamati, He heard a cowherd singing, Ada kabe deka hobe jukala rupa ekasane o. When shall I see the divine couple, Radha and Krishna, sitting together? Immediately he became unconscious and fell into the river. The people present there brought him out and led him on the bank. For a long time, consciousness did not return. A Vaishnava Babaji said, he is in Baba Murcha. Come, let us sing Harinam around him. All began to sing Hari Bol, with the clapping of hands. Jagabdandhu opened his eyes, but the bhav persisted for a long time. Jagabdandhu was mad on account of his extraordinary devotion to Harinam. He found another mad friend in Harana. Harana was his name, but he was called Chepa Harana. People were, so this means mad. Chepa Harana means mad Harana. People were surprised by their friendship because outwardly they were opposed to each other in character, form, mode of living, and manners, and in almost every other thing that was external. Jagat was extraordinarily beautiful. Harana was ugly. Jagat was the very figure of cleanliness, Harana of dirtiness. Jagat bathed thrice during the day, wore clothes that were washed by his own hands and were spotlessly clean. He never even touched the bed or clothes used by others. Harana wore clothes full of patches of old and dirty pieces of cloth collected from various places. It appeared from his dirty body that he never in his life even touched water. He lived in the veranda of a dilapidated building in a lonely place in Pavana. From the crevices in the walls of the veranda hissed many a snake, even during the day. All around him one could see lying old and broken earthen pots full of stale and rotten eatables, thrown away by people and collected by him from various places. Ecstatic. Jagat was still in budding youth, while it was difficult to say anything about the age of Harana. He had seen the marriages of his grandfathers and grandmothers, of many old people of Pavana. People called him Trikalagyan and Vakshita. That means one who knows the past, the present, of the future, one who knows words always come true. Whatever he said about any person, even casually, always came true. But he was very rough in behavior, and his language was abusive. Therefore, people generally did not go to him. But as they say, only a jeweler knows the worth of a jewel. Jagabdandhu had the highest regard and love for him, and called him reverentially Shiva. He called Jagabdandhu affectionately Jaga, spotlessly clean and fresh like a flower that had just bloomed. Jagat would often go and clasp him inside of his dirty and awfully bad-smelling body, as if he was eternally his own, and he loved him more than his own self. Locking him firmly in his arms, he would say lovingly, "Oh Shiva." Shiva said, "Oh Jaga." They would both go on repeating this until they were lost in prema samadhi, trance. Even in the absence of Jagabdandhu, Shiva often cried, "Jaga, Jaga," like one who was intoxicated. Obviously, he derived from it the same pleasure as he derived in clasping Jaga. Embrace, clasping here, I think, should mean embracing. Harana often went to the house of Sri Prasanna Kumara. Lahidi and Golakamani Devi fed him affectionately. Can we put out the insides?
Put out.
You put out. It's too much.
Of course.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Lahidi and Golakamani Devi fed him affectionately. Once he looked at her in a mysterious manner and said, "Look, Didi, Jaga is not human. Jaga is Raja, king. We are all his Brajal subjects." It is said that Jagabdandhu once told one of his confidants, "Shiva is truly Shiva and the Advaita Acharya in Gaura Leela, who has been living here in disguise since the disappearance of Gaura Leela. Ever since Jagabdandhu went to Pavana, the youth of Pavana began to be drawn to him. They were attracted by his beauty, the supernatural radiance and smell of his body, his piety, his love, his spirituality, his high spirits, and strictly disciplined life. They were anxious to surrender themselves at his feet so that he might guide and mold them and make them like himself. Jagabdandhu was only waiting for this opportunity. He became their preceptor. His precepts to them were, first, practice brahmacharya and make others do the same. Second, whatever you do, do for Govinda, knowing that the doer is he, not you. While practicing dharma, morality, if any calamity or disaster comes, face it bravely and patiently, because dharma is Krishna. Very interesting, nice point. Do not talk ill of others. Do not waste your time in useless activities and talks. You may or may not do anything else, but you must do Harinam. Harinam is my life. Keep me alive through Harinam. Others may or may not do Harinam, but you should go about chanting Harinam loudly so that they may hear. Only by Harinam, people can get deliverance from Maya. Precepts are only fruitful, very interesting point. Precepts are fruitful only when the preceptor himself is a living embodiment of the precepts. That is what we love about Gurudev and what I could see in my spiritual master and in Prabhupada and in many others of the Acharyas. Acharya means something who is teaching by his own example. Yeah. Precepts are fruitful only when the preceptor himself is a living embodiment of the precepts.
What is precept?
Teaching, like a given thing to do.
Okay.
Could also say teaching or advice. So that means practice what you preach, and that should be in the person of Guru. The powerful precepts of Jagabdandhu, who was himself a living example of all that he preached, soon brought about unprecedented change in the young man of Pavana. Their guardians apprehended that the boys might renounce the world, and they might be deprived of their only hope and support in old age. They conferred together and checked and decided to cut at the very root of the problem by killing Jagabdandhu. The boys came to know about this. They informed Jagabdandhu. He remained grave, undisturbed and unmoved like the Himalayas, but said, "Many atrocities will be committed upon this body, but no one will be able to kill it. Suffer violence, but do not be violent. You may also have to face violence, move about fearlessly. Jagabdandhu used to go out for a walk before sunrise every morning. At that time of day, some villains came from behind and started hitting him mercilessly. They went on hitting till he fell unconscious on the ground. They thought he was dead and ran away, leaving him alone in the forest. He was seen by a watchman returning home after night duty. He went and informed Lahidi Babu. He and his men ran towards the forest. They lifted Jagabdandhu and brought him home. The news soon spread in Pabana like wildfire. Crowds of young men started coming to Lahidi Babu's house. They were all wild with anger. As soon as Jagabdandhu regained consciousness, they asked him about the names of the villains. He remained silent. When asked repeatedly, he asked for paper and pencil. When he was writing, everyone was anxiously looking at the paper for the names. But instead of the names, what he wrote on it in bold letters was, "I have not come to chastise, but to deliver." After this episode, Tarini Babu came and took Jagabdandhu with him to Ranchi. He admitted him into an English school at Ranchi in class 10th. But at this time, when the thought of redeeming the Jivas by preaching Harinam to them was persistently gnawing him, how could he apply his mind to studies, and to what end? Impelled by the thought, he one day sneaked out of Ranchi. No one knows where he went and what he did for 2 years. After 2 years, he reached Brahmanakanda and started his life's mission, the preaching of Harinam in right earnest. He built 2 ashramas, one in Brahmanakanda and the other in Bhakchara near Brahmanakanda. He organized 7 kirtan parties. In each party there were 2 mridangas and 4 pairs of karatalas. All the 7 parties went out about doing kirtan in different parts of the city every day. Jagabdandhu also accompanied the kirtan parties. Sometimes all the parties together performed kirtana together for 24 hours. The songs sung in kirtana were composed by Jagabdandhu himself. An important part of kirtan used to be Hari Luta, scattering of sweets in honor of Hari in order that the people may pick them up and eat. This also Jagabdandhu did himself. At first he scattered, meaning distributed prasad and Hari Luta. Then in a fit of joyful emotion, he squandered pen, pencil, stick, clothes, coins, notes, and whatever he could lay his hand on. Once he threw away his sitara in Hari Luta, saying, "Hari Bol." The instrument broke. He gave the owner of the sitara a pair of karatalas and made him understand that the proper instruments for kirtan were mridanga and karatala. He said that mridanga was Advaita Acharya himself and karatala Nityananda. Interesting fact. Nice. He said that the mridanga was Advaita Acharya himself and karatala Nityananda. Once Jagabdandhu was out for Nagara Kirtan, meaning circumambulation of the town while performing kirtan. From the opposite side was coming Banamali Roy, the highly devoted Raja of Tadasa, on the back of an elephant, surrounded by pikemen and gunmen. He saw in the midst of the kirtan party an extraordinary, beautiful golden youth of about 20, dancing and singing, and shedding tears profusely as he sang. He wondered who could be that golden youth, so divine in looks, so mad with love. He got down from the elephant. On inquiry, he found that he was the same Jagabdandhu about whom he had heard so much already from different persons. Then he went penetrating through the ground near him and bending on his knees and said to him, Prabhu, I request you to grace my home once with the holy dust of your feet. The next day came Raghunandana Goswami, the son of the Rajaguru of Banamali Rai, and took him on an elephant to the house of Banamali Rai. As soon as he reached there, Banamali Rai fell prostrate at his feet. He took him to a room adjacent to the temple of his Thakur, Radha Vinod, and closed the door. He tried to say something, but he said Prabhu, and his throat was choked and tears streamed out of his eyes. He could not say more. But he had said by his bhava more than he could say by his words. He had said that Jagabdandhu was his Prabhu and he was his servant. Jagabdandhu replied by saying Raja Rishi, implying thereby that though a Raja he was like a Rishi, a saintly person of sadhu. Since then, Jagabdandhu began to be called Prabhu Jagabdandhu, and Banamali began to be called Raja Rishi Banamali Rai. Since then, Banamali Rai began to take Jagabdandhu's advice as his command. As advised by him, he took upon himself the responsibility of printing and distributing the works of Rupa, Sanatan, Jiva, and the other Goswamis. Wow, nice. Even today we find in the libraries the numerous works of the Goswamis published by him. Before coming into contact with Jagabdandhu Prabhu, Banamali Rai was very much under the influence of Brahma Samaj. I think this formless Brahman. He regarded Brahma as formless and had no faith in the Sri Vigraha of Bhagavan in the form of God. The service of Thakur Radha Vinod in his house was done by the Pujari as a matter of routine in the same manner in which it was done by his father when he was alive. Part of the service was the service of hookah, smoking a pipe with long flexible tube. Radha Vinod had acquired the habit of smoking hookah since the time. He was worshipped by a devotee who used to smoke hookah. That devotee offered hookah to Radha Vinod before smoking. One day after Bhoga was offered to Radha Vinod, Jagabdandhu said to Banamali Rai, "Come, let us enjoy the hookah smoking lila of Radha Vinod." He went with Banamali Rai and sat down on the veranda of the temple. After some time he said, "Now here, Radha Vinod is smoking. The guda sound of the hookah can be heard clearly." By his mercy, the spiritual ears of Banamali Rai opened, and he was surprised to hear the sound. Tears of love and penitence for not believing in the Sri Vigraha began to flow from his eyes. Penitence actually means repentance, remorse. He was drowned in Bhav Samadhi. Since then, Banamali Rai's faith in Sri Vigraha became so strong that even if someone said something which even remotely implied that the Sri Vigraha was only a statue, he felt extremely pained at heart. Banamali Rai regarded Radha Vinod and Jagabdandhu Prabhu as non-different and served them accordingly. So here we can see that Jagabdandhu could also have chastised him and told him, "Why are you giving hookah to your deity?" But the saint, he could see that his faith was not strong in the Vigraha, so he approached it another way. He said, now you will hear the smoking of the hookah to increase and to deepen the faith of Banamali Rai. Very interesting point. So these sadhus, these Uttamadhikaris, they see everything with the highest and most divine eyes. I would have said, my God, why is he offering hookah to Krishna? Hookah can be tobacco or more. Very interesting approach. So then from that point on, he had this Nishta in his Ishtadev. That's wonderful. Jagabdandhu started his mission of preaching Kirtan with the Puno community of Faridapur, which was the lowliest and the most downtrodden community of the Hindu society. Like Prabhupada went to New York with the hippies. Always they see the jewels are hidden there. Since long, these people had been neglected and ill-treated by the Hindus. The English missionaries wanted to convert them into Christianity. They fixed a day for their conversion. The same day, Jagabdandhu organized a grand and pompous Sankirtan procession. The procession marched on, rending the sky with high-pitched sound of numerous mridangas and karatalas, and reached the colony where the Buonos lived. The Buonos joined the Sankirtan. Jagabdandhu embraced their leader Rajanipasa and sang and danced with him. Other members of the party embraced the other Buonos and danced with them. Sankirtan changed the heart of the Buonos. They gave up the idea of proselytization into Christianity. The missionaries had to return disappointed. Jagabdandhu gave them the Mridanga and Karatala. They organized a big Sankirtan party. Jagabdandhu included it in his own party and treated them both equally. Rama Bagana in Calcutta was densely populated by Domas, the lowest caste in India. Jagabdandhu often went there and stayed with his devotee Tinkadi. He taught them how to perform kirtan. Within a short time, Rama Bagana became the center of kirtan in Calcutta. All the Domas became devotees. They worshipped Jagabdandhu as their Bhagavan. Jagabdandhu also gave every respect to them. He did not even hesitate to eat from their hand. Gradually, Jagabdandhu attracted several other persons who became his chief assistants in the work of preaching Harinam. Ramdas Babaji was his closest companion since his boyhood. He used to be the principal singer in his kirtanas. He had a sweet voice, and his bhav was very deep. As soon as he started kirtan, all the sattvika bhavas appeared on his body. His name was Radhika. But Jagabdandhu lost outward consciousness as soon as he said Radhika. Therefore he called him Sarika. Later it was he who gave him the name Ramdas. Atula Champadi was the husband of Dikambari Devi daughter Shioda Sundari. He was the headmaster of a high school in Ara, in district Patana. He met Jagabdandhu first at the time of his marriage and came under his influence. He began in his own mind to regard him as his guru. Later he renounced the world and became a recluse. He used to go about chanting Hari Bol, with a bag hanging from his shoulder and ringing cymbals with his hands in the streets and bylanes of Calcutta. Therefore he began to be called Haribol Champati. He visited the place where the Domas lived in Rama Bagana more frequently. Sri Devendrana Chakravarti was also the headmaster of a high school. He also came under the influence of Jagabdandhu and became his ardent devotee. Like Champati, he also renounced the world and started going around different places chanting, Joy Nitai, Joy Nitai. Therefore, he began to be called Jai Nitai. Similarly, a number of other devotees came under the influence of Jagabdandhu and were charged by him with Shakti to go around and preach Harinam. Prominent among them were Mahendraji, the founder of Mahanam Sampradaya, Ramesha Chandra Chakravarti Pakula Vishwasa, Mahimasa, and Navinath Chandra Brajbasi. Jagabdandhu passed his days in Goyala, Charnathapalli, near Faridapur. An ashram was built there which was called Sri Sridham Faridapur Sri Angana. While living in Sri Angana, signs of Bhavanmad, madness in divine love, began to appear in him. In the stage of Bhavanmada, he used to be so lost in bhav that he had no consciousness of his body. He did not know whether he had clothes on his body or not. Usually he used to be naked. In his bhav, he used to be like an infant who depended entirely upon others. From 1902 to 1980, for about 16 years and 8 months, he remained silent. Wow. During this period, he lived in a dark room of Sri Angan with the door closed from the inside. He did not know.
How long?
16 years. He did not allow a lamp to be lit in the room. He had no connection whatsoever with the outside world. He ate and slept very little. He left his body in 1921, 2.5 years after he broke the silence. Who was Jagabdandhu? And what was the secret of his Mahamauna Leela, his long period of silence? It is difficult to say. He himself said, I am a sweeper. I have come to sweep the hearts of people. I am Harinams. That means I'm owed by Harinam and no one else. You possess me and unite me by doing Harinam. His devotees they thought that he was the combined incarnation of Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. In the form of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna fulfilled his want of a superior rasa, the rasa resulting from the experience of his own beauty and sweetness, which Radha alone enjoyed, fully through the eyes of prema. We know now through Manjari Bhav, by Guru's mercy. He could do so in his Gambhira Lila as Gaura, because Gaura was the combined incarnation of Radha and Krishna. Similarly, in the form of Jagabdandhu, Gaura fulfilled his want of a superior rasa, the rasa resulting from the experience of his own beauty and sweetness, which was fully enjoyed by Nityananda. He could do so in his Gambhira Leela in Goyala Chalamat as Jagabdandhu, because Jagabdandhu was the combined incarnation of Gauranga and Nityananda. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, Mahaprabhu is depicted as saying that he would have 2 more incarnations. Heno mate aro ache dui avatar kirtana ananda rupe hoy amar. The followers of Jagabdandhu think that he was one of the 2 incarnations mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat, because the luster of his body was like that of Sri Gauranga. Because like him, he launched the expedition of delivering the jivas from bondage to Sankirtan. Because he was humbler than a blade of grass like him, and because like him, he was also in his lifetime regarded as Bhagavan, and people called him Nava Gauranga. It is because people believe that he was Gauranga. Jagabdandhu had sometimes to adopt strange devices to conceal himself from them. Once he had gone to Navadvip to bath in the Ganges on some auspicious day when Navadvip was crowded with pilgrims. News spread like wildfire that Navaguranga had come to Navadvip and they would be blessed with his darshan when he went to bath in the Ganges. Huge crowds gathered on his path to the river. Jagabdandhu came to know about this and left Navadvip at night. On another occasion, when he was going to Faridapur, thousands of people who believed that he was Bhagavan gathered in a market through which he had to pass for his darshan. He asked his men to prepare an arati. Again, this a bed made of bamboos to carry a dead body to the funeral ground. He lay down on the arati and covered himself with a cloth. His men carried him through the market chanting Haribol, as if they were carrying a corpse. That's the end of the story of Jagabdandhu Prabhu. So, very nice, very inspiring.
He was living exactly where I was not on the beginning. Never said.
Some village. I don't remember now. I read so much. So nice. Now is the Italian meeting. We switch now to the Italian.
So I switch, huh?
I don't know. So is there any question or comments from the audience? Thank you for letting me do this service of speaking. We don't know, we cannot say for sure if he was the incarnation, but it's still maybe, and it's very, very inspiring to hear about these great, great sadhus.